Hello and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today we are covering Oathbringer, chapters 85 through 89. So 5 chapters and 5 interludes. There's a lot to read this week. Where we pick up, all is far from fine as possible in Kholinar. All is as far from fine as possible with Dalinar. No one's really having a good time at the moment, which is not a good thing for our characters. So our team in Kholinar are activating the Oathgate, and they end up in Shadesmar. So that absolutely did not go to plan. And it turns out that Azure is familiar with this place, so that's pretty cool. Dalinar's memories have returned of what occurred at the Rift, and between that and the uncertainty of waiting on news from Kholinar, he's having a really hard time. And we get another little chat with Taravangian. Venli, 3 interludes of Venli this time. She's finding her place amongst the singers and her new role there, and has a little secret spread of her own, which is an interesting turn of events. Dalinar's flashback shows what the life of the Blackthorn was like between the Rift and presumably meeting the Night Watcher, when hopefully things turn around for Dalinar there. And our Kholinar crew begin to make their way to safety across Shadesmar. So lots of stuff happening. End of one part, start of another part, some interludes, lots of things to talk about today. I'm Jamie, and with me today is
Dak,
Data,
and Joe.
So, hang on to something. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
Yearnings intertwined, the golden age in ashes once again. Under stirring stars, in the burning shards, kindle fragments of the fallen rain. So look to the break of dawn, to the break of dawn. Stronger
So yeah,
together
big
now.
10 chapters, although some of them were just extremely short. I think Interlude 9 is the shortest section of the entire book. So, relatively easy to get through 10 chapters. What did you guys think of these 10 chapters?
There was a lot going on here. They were good. I loved all the stuff in the Kholinar / Shadesmar crew. That was really cool. Did not see that coming. Okay, cool. Well, we get to learn a bit more about this place. This is really cool. Seeing the spread in their, like their I don't know what you call them, their Shadesmar forms was fascinating. Especially Adolin's blade, which is scary as fuck. And honestly, the whole Shadesmar interlude just further reinforces Adolin is the best, because he spends his perspective chapter freaking the fuck out, going, "What the fuck is this? I'm freaking out." And he just sort of puts it out of his head and goes, "Okay, I need to do something here. I have no idea what the fuck's going on in this place. I need to find something I can do that will help." And so he just goes to Kaladin and it's like, "Hey man, I got your back," and is trying to keep Kaladin, because he can tell Kaladin is in a world of hurt right now. So he's just like, I need to help my boy. And it's like, man, Adolin, he is already shitting himself. He doesn't know what's going on, but his first protocol is like, someone else needs help more than I do right now. So he goes to do that. Fucking awesome. The rest of the stuff, family stuff was kind of cool. I feel like it probably could have been 2 interludes rather than 3, but whatever. I was interested in the interlude of Mraze's washerwoman and the person who was destroying the paintings, because I think we saw that woman in one of the earlier books as well. It's like, okay, a little bit more of a hint about what's going on there, so that's cool. And I did like, the light-eyed guy who gets thrown to the chasm fiend or the great shell. That was hilarious. That was just fun. And yeah, Dalinar. So I guess this sort of highlighted something for me that it's like, we probably should have picked up on this earlier. We were so focused on Dalinar goes to the Night Watcher after Evie dies, because I was like, that's got to be what happens. That's why he can't remember her. But I never stopped to think, but does he go before or after Gavilar dies? And given the fact that, okay, we see him in this flashback, he's a drunk, and then in the night that Gavilar died, he was also a drunk. So that would suggest, okay, so he goes to the Night Watcher after Gavilar dies as well. What part did that play in that whole situation? So I'm curious. So that bit sort of unlocked a few things, which I think I probably should have seen coming earlier, but it was really cool to see, and just interesting to see. All right, this is the in-betweeny bit where, because we've heard for so long Dalinar was a drunk for so long, but we only saw that peripherally in like the flashback chapters of the night Gavilar died. So it's interesting. Oh yeah, that's a pretty important part of his life that we're getting to see that too. I've been curious about this.
Yeah, that's true. We've seen very little of that, given like what a reputation it has.
Yeah,
And the effect it had on that one night where he's passed out while his brother's being murdered. Also, I really like what you said about Adolin in Shadesmar, because I hadn't really thought about it that way before, but it's true. It's like he's so overwhelmed, and then his go-to is like, okay, I don't know what the fuck is going on. What can I do that is helpful? That is like within the purview that I understand, which is probably like the best reaction to being in an overwhelming situation that I could possibly imagine. So that is pretty top, as it were.
100%. It's like it's keeping Adolin focused so he's not freaking out, but he's also working to stop someone else from freaking out too. It's like this is the best possible reaction you can have.
Yep, good man, Adolin.
Yep.
Yeah, these chapters were kind of a little bit of what I was expecting, some different insights that I wasn't expecting. So altogether, I really enjoyed them. You know, I'd kind of predicted that I think they're going to call the city a lost cause at this point. And so I didn't expect them to go through the Oathgate anyway, kind of upsetting that Drehi and Scar were left behind. It's like, oh no, because we know based on the interludes later that the city has been occupied completely by them. So like, did they escape? Are they still there? What, because I feel like the interludes kind of skip past some of the later chapters we read, because Venli's already there for like 2 weeks or whatever in some of the interludes. So I feel like those jumped ahead a little bit. Dalinar kind of going through that internal struggle of he remembers now what happened. I feel like these are the seams falling apart on him a little bit, and I almost wonder if somehow Taravangian planned him getting his memories back somehow, because it kind of plays in to what Taravangian's ultimate goal is, I feel like, which is to take over for Dalinar, right? He's having this big giant crisis, and it's kind of, people are kind of seeing it and they don't know the reason, but internally he's like, what do? I don't know that I can do this. And so you've got that whole side of it that like could possibly be playing into Taravangian's plans. We've got these interludes, the Venli stuff I kind of already talked about. Like she's got this other Spren that is going around with her that's trying to like help her. I almost feel like it's her sister in a way, like the Spren is her sister, but I don't know for sure if that's the case. But like that's kind of the feeling I get, because she's like, it's doing it's singing to these old rhythms, and it's resolved to stay with her. So I'm like, there's got to be like a bigger reason behind that. And then we've got these other really short interludes with some dude who was captured by Herdacian people, which turns out he's an awful guy. So good on them for capturing him and then making him, oiling him up and making him fight the hog, whatever that is. I kind of wanted to see what that monster was, just because I was like, this is kind of funny. And then what was the other one? Mem or whatever. Yeah, that one was interesting as well. Kind of interesting that these interludes were so short. Most of the longer ones were spent on Venli. And then yeah, our people are in Shadesmar. We're kind of learning a little bit more about it. The creepy dead Spren sword. If I guess that's what you would call it, because her eyes are all crossed out and she looks like leather or whatever. Seems pretty dead to me, I guess. And then we see Syl kind of. They don't focus a lot on Syl because the perspectives are from Adolin and Shallan, and so and Kaladin's kind of out of it, so we don't get to focus a lot on Syl. But like Syl is like, oh, she's a normal sized person in Shadesmar, and then Pattern's large and terrifying looking. So definitely interesting to me. I finally know what those people, when I went to the con like 2 or 3 years ago, what those people were cosplaying as. They're cosplaying as giant Pattern type Spren. Very interesting. And so yeah, we're kind of in this weird situation where it's like the city is fallen. Our friends are like stuck in Shadesmar for right now. With this flashback that's really depressing about Dalinar basically trying to get rid of his memories and being so drunk all the time, and like his brother and his son and his nephew all know, like, yeah, he's really drunk. It's kind of sad. So yeah, it's we're kind of in that section of the book, I feel like, where nothing is going well for our heroes right now. Even in flashbacks, nothing's going well for our heroes.
That's true, I guess. Yeah, they can't even catch a break in the past.
Yeah, the past is unkind.
It's kind of funny. I like what you said about the Spren. You're like, it's kind of like her sister, because we know that the Spren showed up when, like, from Eshonai's body, basically. When they found her body, like, the Spren popped up and like stuck with her, essentially. So it is kind of...
Yeah, and I almost wonder if it is, because I feel like this is just kind of the sense I got from reading the stuff when Eshonai first became like different, and she had this little piece of her inside of her that was like screaming or whatever. I almost wonder if it like pushes out the original investiture of their souls, or that is like a spread, because I think we're starting to figure out that, like, based on what Venli says here, it's like they don't have the same kind of bond relationship with Spren as people do, right? They've got gem hearts, essentially, right? And that's what bonds them, which begs the question, like, what does adding a gem heart to yourself, like, I forget Elhokar's wife's name.
Isadan.
What does doing that to yourself as a human do? Like, did she get rid of her real heart and she put this gem heart in instead? Like, what does that do? And so I was like, so if that's the case, maybe getting the void spren or whatever they're called, like, inside of you, it pushes your soul to the side. And so maybe this little spren thing is actually, I know it's an early predicament, is actually like Eshonai's soul. And it, like, the void spren soul died in her body or whatever. Maybe it could be replaced inside of another person, because we kind of see the fuse do that, right? They take different bodies but have the same little spren soul or whatever it is. So maybe that's actually Eshonai's essence, like, floating around and hanging out with Venli. I feel like it's a possibility, at least.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, I guess we really don't know enough about the process and how the Parshendi work in general to have any certain idea, but that's interesting, yeah.
So, this book, yes. Yeah, I think Jack and Joe have both got really good points. I was having the same thoughts about Dalinar and the timeline of the Night Watcher or Gavilar's death. That, yeah, I had the same thought, so I think it's interesting that Jack picked up on that as well. Could go either way. I mean, he could still be drinking, but for other reasons. Don't know. But the time is getting pretty close to Gavilar's death, so I would say that probably happens in between as well. It'll be really interesting to see what the catalyst is for him to go. I think it'll also be really interesting to see a Dalinar perspective of that night. I know that he was drunk and passed out for a lot of it, but it would be good to see that in a little bit more detail. Maybe what's going through Dalinar's head, or when he woke up, or something when he found out. So I think that would be cool to go through. I think the real highlight of these chapters for me was the Shadesmar piece at the very end. I thought that was really interesting to go through there, because we've seen glimpses of this across a couple of stories now, and to spend a bit more time in there, it's terrifying in its current state. Interesting to see how Adolin reacts. I don't blame him for being terrified. That was pretty rough to go through what he went through, but how Shallan handled it and transforming sort of flat objects, not transforming them, but making them out of their ideas into something they could actually use. Slow and steady, but very clever. It got them to safety. I really enjoyed Azra's reaction to being in there. Clearly has been there before. I mean, says that they've been there before, so that's fine. No spren for her sword, So that between that and what we were talking about last week points pretty heavily that this is not a shard blade. So that's good to have sort of that level of confirmation. I loved seeing Patton and Syl in this form. I think that's really cool because you know that they're a constant presence with, you know, the person that they're bonded with. But now it's just like they've got extra people hanging around, and I think it's fun that they'll be able to interact with other people. So while I hope we're not in Shadesmar for too long, I'm really looking forward to seeing a little bit more of that interaction coming through. What do we got? The interludes, yeah, I mean, Venley's could have been much shorter. It does seem like there was a bit of a time discrepancy between what was going on in the story and now, unless time just moves really differently in Shadesmar. I hope not, but maybe it does. Oh, that would just break my brain if this turned into some sort of time loop type thing. The other interludes were really fun. I was listening to these, and I believe the character's name is Pom, but I thought it was Palm, and I was like, "We know Palm. We've seen Palm." And I said to Dak, "Who's Palm?" And I can't remember. And he was like, "Isn't that one of the back in Mistborn?" Oh my goodness, my brain's gone.
That was Lessie.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. But I'm looking for the Candra is what I was looking for, the word. And I was like, Palm, yes. And then Dak was like, no, Palm, different person. So I went down a whole train of thought that I didn't need to go down. But anyway, that was fun for me. And throw it to the hogs. That's, yeah, honestly, it sounds like he really deserved that. So kind of disappointed that was only a really, really short interlude, but that was also a bit of fun to see. I'm kind of working backwards through the chapters, I guess. The end of the parts, which was the three chapters. Yeah, short and sharp to end of the chapter. It was all happening. I kind of felt like I was holding my breath when we were over at Erythea, like waiting for word of what was happening as well. I think it was very well written, and yeah, that's a lot for them to be able to go through, and having the span read sort of spell out what's happening and then to just drop off. You can only imagine the horrors that are actually happening in Kolinar at the time. So I think it will be really interesting to get an idea of what's happening in Kolinar after our characters left. Maybe not from Venley, but I would love to have like the Taylor's perspective at some point. Would be really cool. But maybe Scar and Drahe, if they're still there and if they're okay, maybe we'll get something from them at some point. But yeah, lots happening. Everything the end of a part should be, everything the start of a part should be. Probably a little more exciting actually at the start of the part than we would normally have. But that's cool. We'll be coming into Sanderlanche territory in no time.
I like what you said about how like tense it was when you're sitting there that they're waiting for the news, and we kind of know that you're not going to get any because we know how things went, but they have no idea. So it's like I can't imagine being Dalinar and having to try to deal with that. But yes, it sucks to be Dalinar in that moment for sure. But I also like what you said about Shadesmar, because we visited briefly before. Like Shallan popped in there when she was soul casting, and it wasn't good then. And now we're like a bunch of us are there, and it's still not good. It's like more not good than before.
Yep. I would definitely say more not good than before. 100%.
So it's scary, and yet it seems like we're going to finally get some information about this place because we're going to be here for at least a minute. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
We saw Kelsier in the cognitive realm in Mistborn, but it seems very different from, well, a lot of stuff is different on Roshar in the cognitive realm.
Yeah, it's different, but also there was enough similarities that I was like, okay, no, we've been here before. We saw what we did in the cognitive realm. Yeah, I think it'll be cool to spend a bit more time here, and it'll be cool to learn more about what's actually going on in here, and hopefully it sort of plays into, you know, what we would learn later in the Stormlight books, but what then that could sort of bring to what we know about the other realms and planets and, you know, what's actually going on underneath. I love learning. Very exciting.
Yeah, right? The world building's so fun. And we can already see a couple of the similarities / differences that are interesting. Like in Secret History, the world was very misty, and Kelsier noted there that like where water was more solid, and where land was all misty. And you see the same thing here, except instead of mist, it's beads, terrifying beads that you can drown in.
Yeah.
You could still walk on the land there.
Well, actually, I don't know if normal people could walk on the land in Shadesmar on Scadrial, because we saw Chris and Naz camped out on the lake, but Kelsier was a dead guy, like a cognitive shadow or whatever.
Right,
So I think
yeah.
I think it may just be different for him. I'm not 100% sure, honestly. But we also saw him find like the souls of things. Like he found the soul of a campfire and a backpack and stuff, and like manifested them. And then in these chapters, Shallan finds the beads that are the soul of things, and she kind of manifests them a little bit differently, though. So these are weird places, but I find the similarities and differences that we can see here pretty interesting. Okay, I guess let's get into these chapters, y'all. Chapter 85, Grieve Later, and the epigraph is from one of the Emeralds. It says, "Don't tell anyone. I can't say it. I must whisper. I foresaw this." Which is interesting because we know that seeing the future is supposed to be bad, but we also know that Renarin has been getting some ideas about future things, like when he wrote down when the Everstorm was coming. So, and I think the Emerald is the Truth Watcher gem. I think we've talked about that before. So it seems like a thing that maybe Truth Watchers can do that was not made very public. But the chapter itself is, we cut to Adolin. The last chapter, we ended with Adolin grabbing Kaladin and having to get him out of there. And we're right back where we left off, where Adolin, he's thinking, it's like one of the first things my dad taught me about battle, grieve later. Very early title drop for the chapter here. And he gets them across the Sunwalk. The battle is continuing to rage, and things have kind of turned against them. And Adolin's planning on moving everybody. He's like, "We're abandoning the city. Get everybody who can get on here on the platform. We're going." And then he has to go in, and he sees Shallan. He's like, "Shallan, we got to go. The city's fallen. Transfer the whole thing." And Azure's here. Azure's like, "But what about my men?" And he's like, "They're dead or routed. We got to go." "Well, what about the king?" "The king's dead. The queen has joined the enemy. We have to retreat, Azure." That's a lot to drop on a person, I feel like, but, you know. And Shallan says, "The heart was a trick. I think the Voidbringers intentionally let us get here because the Oathgate is a trap." And he says, "How do you know?" And she says, "I'm talking to Shah Anat, the taker of secrets." She says, "If we engage the device, we'll be caught in a disaster." And he goes, "Do it anyway." And we cut back to Shallan, who is like, "Okay, now I get why he's saying this. Because either she's lying and she's trying to stall us, in which case we should activate the thing. Because, you know, that's an unmade, can't trust him. But even if she's not, even if she's telling the truth, like, we don't have a lot of choice here. Like, there's not other ways to go, really.
There's enemies at our door, literally. We've got to make a decision, and sitting here and trying to figure it out, it's not going to work.
And Shah Anat is like, "Trust is not mine. You will not give my children a home, not yet. I will try. My promise is not strong, for I cannot know, but I will try." And Shallan goes, "Try what?" "Try not to kill you." And Shallan turns the Oathgate on, and thus ends a quite short chapter. And then we get another epigraph, this one from a sapphire, which is the Windrunner stone. "My spren claims this recording will be good for me, so here I go. Everyone says I will swear the fourth ideal soon, and in doing so earn my armor. I simply don't think I can. Am I not supposed to want to help people?" So knowing that that's the Windrunners, and that Kaladin is on his third ideal, he needs to say the fourth one also. I feel like that gives some tantalizing little hints about what it is that he needs to say.
But also, like, dropping that hit right when he's having this massive crisis of faith.
Yeah. But also, it's outright stated that when you swear the fourth ideal, you earn your armor, so that's kind of cool.
Neat.
Quite an advantage at this time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Finally, some real information from these little library things.
And it took to the last one.
It's the second to last one, to be fair. Although the last one is not super informative. So
Yeah, we got some good
Yeah, true.
information from the from a few of them, but it took a while.
I feel like they
Yeah.
got kind of more useful as we went along in the part.
Well, I think the one before this wasn't useful, was it?
Well, it's a truth watcher saying like I can't tell anyone, but I foresaw this, which I feel like is useful in that it may give a hint about like something truth watchers can do, which we know very little about.
Yeah, I guess. Like, it's weird to me that, like, they're like, I can't tell anyone. It's like, well, what's the point of being a it's like any kind of oracle. It's like, I can't tell anyone, but I know what's going to happen. It's like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, what you say. Yeah.
I just assumed that the I can't tell anyone thing is because in their religion that's bad. So he's like, I can't.
Didn't that come after the Radiance though? It was after the Recreants.
Oh, that's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would guess that was maybe a cultural reaction to truth watchers. It's like, yeah, that's those evil truth watchers. Don't do that. You can't see the future.
Could be. But we're with Dalinar Kholin, and he is at Urithiru, standing on the balcony, watching all the troops ready at the Oathgate platform, ready to go, get transported over. And it's been a while. They're all just standing out there waiting and waiting. And nothing is happening. Meanwhile, he is also preoccupied by the fact that his memories have come back of what happened to Evie. And he don't like that. It's not fun to think about. But he kind of can't not think about it. And he goes over and sits down with Taravangian. And we find out that he has been kind of debilitated by these memories. And the Azish finally came to visit the tower yesterday, and Taravangian took over and gave them the tour. And they were all very impressed and charmed by the elderly king. And they were going to come back later for more talk. So yay? I guess.
He's already setting up for the look at me, I'm so present and lovely and everyone likes me, so that when Dalinar has his fall from grace, who are they going to turn to?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to be a good plan. Not good in the sense of, morally good, but it's
not good for our
plan.
heroes.
Yeah.
It's all part of the plan.
And Dalinar's like, have you ever suddenly come to the realization you're not the man everyone thinks you are? And Taravangian's like, I mean, yeah. What's even worse is when I realize that I'm not the one that I think of myself as being. Which that's really interesting considering his smarter, dumber days things. And Dalinar's having to argue with the guy, but no, you're a good man, Taravangian. You didn't murder your way to the throne. And it's like, no, he murdered a bunch of people after that. But
Yeah.
he arranged for several murders to get the throne of Yaakoved.
Yeah, it's like, Dalinar, you don't know what you're talking about right now, so you should probably shut up.
Inside, Taravangian is just shitting himself laughing. It's like, man, if only you knew.
But on the outside, he's like, I mean, is there really a big difference? Murdering people, wrongly imprisoning a man, allowing a murder to happen if you could have, stopped it with proper policing. It's all wrong. And we are the sacrifice that we offer to our society. Someone has to fall so that others may stand. And Dalinar's like, man, that's a really not nice way of, that's not a happy way of looking at this stuff. It's like being king sucks, apparently. And finally, the span read starts working. We get a message. The capital has fallen. The Voidbringers have seized the palace. And then the message cuts off. I feel real bad for that Ardent who was like, wait, but I don't want to use the span read. Those things might show up. And Elkar's like, I mean, tough shit. Do it.
I'm the king, so you got to do what I say. It's like, oh.
The wall guard is captured or imprisoned. The city's fallen. No word on Adolin or the Radiants. And the message cuts off. And Taravangian's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Dalinar. And that's the end of that chapter. So that's a downer. And we know that some of them made it out. We know that our main characters, more or less, I mean, R.I.P. Elokar. But they made it to Shadesmar, at least, out of the city. The secondary characters, Scar, Drahi, Ishna, Vatha, no clue what happened to them.
I would be pissed if Scar and Drahi are gone. I was getting very fond of those two.
Yeah.
Don't dox in these two, Brandon.
I mean, we know that it mentions in the chapters, it's like, they could fly and they had those powers, but now that Kaladin's gone, they may not have them for long. So if they recognize what happened, they might have time to escape. Who knows?
I think at one point in here, they, like, in the beads, it might be in the later chapter, but in the beads, they're just like, oh yeah, we see them go past, like they're still alive, and they're just, for now.
Yeah. Our last chapter of the part 3, the epigraph is "Good night, dear Urithiru. Good night, sweet sibling. Good night, Radiance."
There's like a hardcore version of Goodnight Moon.
There's that word though again, sibling with a capital S. Don't know what that's about, but we're saying good night to that also. So
it's their big brother. Gotta capitalize it.
And so we're right after Shalon activated the Oath Gate, and it says the whole thing rocks. The building rocks like it's been hit by a boulder. And Adolin, there's a blinding flash of light, and he just drops. He strikes a hard surface, and it's so jarring, he rolls to his side and falls off the platform. So when the teleportation came, he was still on a big platform, but he rolled over and fell into the beads, which is unfortunate for him. But and it's not. He realizes quickly this is not water. It's not liquid. It's thousands and thousands of glass beads. It's interesting. Scadrial is very tied to mists, and everything was misty there. They use beads for money, glass spheres for money here, and the land takes all these little souls take the form of glass beads. I don't know that using the money is significant enough that it should change how the world is reflected here, but it also feels like it can't be unrelated.
I'll be honest, that had not occurred to me at all until you mentioned it.
Interesting. Okay. Maybe it's just me.
Mm.
And like Shalon discovered before, you can't swim in these. You can't do much of anything in these. They just start drowning you or suffocating you. I don't know if it counts as drowning when it's not water. And he starts freaking out because you would. Yeah. But fortunately, Azure grabs his hand and pulls him back onto the platform. And this is when he starts noticing things about the place he is. The sky overhead is black, and it's streaked with strange clouds that seem to stretch forever into the distance like roads in the sky. That's interesting. I have to go back to Secret History to see how the sky is described there. I know it's also dark with like the little sun that looks really far away, but I don't... I think in Secret History it was like there's like spidery stuff in the sky because of Ruin. I have to go back and look.
Don't remember. That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. Yeah,
Yep.
You're not right. Or you're not wrong. I said you're not right. That's kind of mean.
I frequently am not right.
You're not right, Dak. You're not right.
That ain't right.
That boy ain't right. And there's a big platform right here in the middle of the beads, and standing up above them are 2 giant spren. There's also a bunch of little candle flames, like thousands of them, it says. And we got Shalon here and Kaladin here, and obviously Asher. One of the spren is black, and the other one is red. And you hear someone nearby go, "Oh, this is bad. This is so very, very bad." And he looks, and it says, a creature in a stiff black costume with a robe that seemed somehow made of stone. And instead of a head, it had shifting, changing ball of lines, angles, and impossible dimensions. Which is freaky, but also I'm pretty sure we saw these in the pictures that Shalon drew all the way back in the first book.
Yep.
So, not too out there, I suppose. He freaks out about that and jumps up and runs into a young woman with blue-white skin wearing a filmy dress that rippled in the wind. And another spren with ashen brown features that seem to be made of tight cords, wearing ragged clothing with scratched out eyes, like a canvas someone had taken a knife to.
This one threw me for a loop. It's like, at first I'm just like, oh, this is Patton and Syl, and this one showed up. I'm like, who the fuck is this? And I had, it's obvious when the later chapter tells you, but I had no clue, and that made me doubt. Wait, was that Patton and Syl? If it was, who the hell? Like, there's no explanation for this, or are these just some random spren that have shown up? So I'm not proud of how long it took me to figure out what was going on here.
I do love the idea, like Pattern and Syl are here, and then there's just another one hanging around in the area. Like, hey, what up?
Hey guys, welcome to Shadesmar.
Yeah, how's it going? Interesting stuff happening on the other side.
Get off my platform.
Yeah, this is my side, your side. And so yes, he kind of takes a quick count. There's the 2 big spren, there's the 3 smaller spren, and then there's us. All right, the humans. No one else made it. It was just the people in the control building, nobody on the platform. Which is probably good, because if those like hundreds of people crowded onto the platform had been sent over, the platform on this side is only the size of the control building. So they would all be dying horribly. And then we end the chapter and the part with Azure looking up at the sky, and she says, "Damnation, I hate this place." And yeah, end of part 3.
So she's been there before, which, we find out later, but yeah.
And later on, Adolin takes that very literally. It's like, wait, this is literally damnation?
He's like, I'm so scared.
Well, I guess technically it is literally damnation as far as he's aware.
Yeah. The song from South Park starts playing. It's like, little boy, you're going to hell. Whoa.
So our first interlude is Envoy, starring Venli. And we find out what they've had Venli doing since we last saw her. And basically, she is telling the new singers about what happened to her people. A bit of a sanitized version in some ways. It's like, yeah, my sister tried to negotiate with the humans and explain that we weren't to blame for assassinating their king, but they wouldn't listen. They just saw us as slaves to be dominated. And apparently she's been doing this a lot, like telling the same story. It says that she's gotten good at this because she's been practicing a whole lot.
And somewhere Wit is just going, 6 out of 10.
Right? Yeah. He's like, he could have been better. But we find out that there's actually different levels here. You've got the common singers, that's the people with ordinary forms. There's the regals, which is what she is. They have forms of power. So like storm form that they used to have, and she's now in envoy form, which allows her to speak a bunch of different languages. And you get those by bonding with a void spren. And then there's the fused at the top that outrank everybody else. And one of the singers remains at the end and says, "Is your story true?" And Fenley's like, "Yeah, of course it's true. Do you doubt me?" And she's like, "No, it's hard to imagine Parshman fighting."
I love that. Is your story true? It's not. But yeah, it is.
Duh. And Venli corrects her, like, call yourself singers, not Parshman. She's like, "Oh yeah, right. But like, these were Parshmen born among the Alethi, and so they're very Alethi in how they behave." And Venli thinks, "Oh, Eshonai, they have so far to go." I don't know why you're Eshonai. Like, she would have approved of any of this shit. But we find out that she also is still being bossed around by the fused. This one called Rhine is calls her a toddler. She's like, if these ones are babies, then you're just a toddler. Like, you're not much better. And Venli wants to bring some human slaves here to help with planting and stuff. And Rhine's like, "Yeah, some of us agree with you, but personally, I think that the humans need to be watched constantly. At any moment, any of them could manifest powers from the enemy. We killed him, and yet he still fights on through his surge binders."
That's an interesting little note. They remember honor.
Yeah, right? And according to Rhine, it's like, we killed him. All right. And Rhine goes off to take care of some stuff, and Venli's alone, and she pours the spheres out of her pouch, and also out comes this little spren that looks like just a little ball of light, basically. It's described various times as like a comet or a spark, and it goes around and investigates the room. And she's like, "It's not really any different than the last room you looked at, but whatever. Knock yourself out. I don't know why you stay with me. It can't be comfortable in the bag." And the spren doesn't seem to talk, but it like pulses to the rhythms that she herself knows, so she can kind of get an idea of what it means. And Rhine comes back and she's like, "In the pouch, quick." And that's the end of that section. Then we get the Mem one, which I think is one of my favorites of the book, actually, of the interludes. This is a fun little... I love Mem.
Yeah. I enjoyed this. Like, just her describing it's like the art of doing laundry. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. Also, I guess, like, which, I mean, we're about to get into it. I guess, like, this lady that is pretending to be a washerwoman is one of the heralds? It's what I guess we're supposed to be gathering from this?
That feels like the implication. We can go into a little more when we get there. So yes, Mem is a washerwoman, but she's like an expert at her trade, and she takes it very seriously. And I just really love it, how dedicated she is to this job. And she's getting various stains out of stuff, and some of them are really hard, and she has to try all these different techniques. And she has a new assistant called Palm, who is dark-skinned, obviously of mixed blood, but also just like really pretty. She's like, man, how's no one snatched this woman up? Maybe it's because she stares daggers at any man who gets too close. That might have something to do with it, but whatever. I also love the note that she refuses to use the servant's entrance. She's like, no, I come in through the front door. Screw you. And Mraize is her boss, is one of the few people that will humor her in that. So I guess that's a reason why she's working for him. And so they're taking Mraize's clothes back in to put away.
This begs the question of, okay, we know he's been to Urithiru. How's this guy get around so quickly?
Well, we do know that you can travel from Urithiru to Yak-Kaved to the capital city, Vedinar, because there's an Oathgate there. And that's where Taravangian came from, I think. So...
I thought that Oathgate was a lot more controlled and monitored of who was going through.
Might be.
Although, to be fair, we haven't really seen him. We've only seen him in Urithiru once at the end of the last book, so maybe he's just has an agent there with a span read or something.
No, we saw him when Adolin visited Sadius' wife. He was there.
That's right. He was hanging out there too. Forgot about that one.
This I feel like Dak is bringing up a good point though, and I feel like it gives more credence to my theory that he's actually Hoyd. Because Hoyd gets around. That dude.
He does.
He's all over the
That's
joint.
true.
We last saw him in Kholinar right before the city fell. So that might have been tough to get out of, but he does get around for sure.
Tough to get out of for Hoyd? Yeah, right.
Maybe Mraize just, has contacts.
Also, like I said before, it's obvious these interludes are not happening in the same time frame as what's actually going on in chapters proper, because Venli's weeks ahead at this point.
You're not wrong. Yeah, it seems like she gets to the city in the second one after it's fallen for sure. So okay, they go into his study, I guess, here. And Mraize, she mentions, does not like to be called master. You call him Mraize. Has very refined taste. And we note 5 paintings of the finest skill on the wall, each of a different herald. And as Mem is putting down her basket in front of the wardrobe, there's a ripping sound. And I love that ripping in her mind, this like the worst thing. That is the sound of disaster incarnate. But she turns and finds Palm cutting one of Mraize's paintings with a knife. And it's a piece of Mem's brain stopped working. What am I seeing? I don't understand.
I'm struggling to put into context what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, I love that horror. I love that horror as that image. Just could you imagine? She holds Mraize in such high esteem as well. And then it's oh my god, I've brought this vandal into your home. Very well written.
I love how into the mind of this character we are. We're so solidly in there that it's you feel her terror at this moment. And Palm, after she cuts it up, is just I've been looking for that.
So this is definitely the same woman we saw back in Way of Kings breaking artwork, yeah?
This is the same person we saw in Way of Kings destroying artwork. Yes.
I don't remember that. What happened in Way of Kings with the artwork?
It was an interlude.
Some interlude. There were two goons who had helped her get in, and they were talking about, "Hey, have you been to see the Night Watcher yet?" "Yeah, I have." And they're just so why have we been hired by this woman who's destroying art? And because it mentioned dark skin, we all thought, "What the hell is Chris doing?" And Data's "That's not Chris."
Ah, gotcha. Also, what is she doing? Why is she still, even if she is a herald, why is she destroying artwork? What's her game? I don't get it.
This is a fair question, actually.
Herald's doing insane shit. It seems to be their bag.
I'll play your game, you rogue. I don't get it.
And some guards show up, and she just flips her knife and points it at them. And then, horror of horrors, Mraize himself came in wearing an evening jacket and slippers. It was what's all the ruckus? And then he notices what has happened, and he goes, "Finally! The masterpiece of the Oil Sworn was all it took, was it? Excellent." And I don't know if you guys remember Oil Sworn. We've heard that name before. That's the ancient artistic master that's been dead for 300 years or whatever that Shalon claims she learned drawing from. And Cabsal was I don't want to call you a liar, but hasn't he been dead for 300 years or whatever? And she's like, oh, I learned from a book.
Whatever, Capsule. We don't care about your weird jam questions.
Dandos the Oil Sworn. So apparently this was one of his masterpieces, and it is now destroyed.
Yeah, good job, whichever herald you are. There's only, what are there, 3 lady heralds or 2?
I think there are 5. 5 and 5.
That was
if I
fun.
remember
it was
right.
5 and
I
5.
don't know. I didn't realize it was even split. Look at me. Such a misogynist. Shame on me.
So yeah, presumably this woman has just destroyed one of the 5 pictures of heralds that we were told he had. So
I forgot about that bit. Yeah.
why that would be, who knows?
She doesn't
I
like the other heralds, huh?
I want to go back to the Way of Kings real quick and look. The interlude was called Baxel, and yeah, they were in the home of Ashno of Sages, the richest and holiest men in all of Emul, and they were going through his art gallery, basically destroying a bunch of stuff.
I wonder if she's trying to like erase images of what she and the other heralds look like, if they're herald paintings.
There, she destroyed a painting of Epon, Lady of Dreams.
Yeah, which could be maybe another name for a herald.
She also smashed up a statue. She was like, "Give me the mallet that was like wrapped with cloth or whatever to silence it." Anyway, so yeah, she was destroying art there too. This is the same person. He calls her Ancient One and says, "Would you care for something to drink?" And Palm doesn't give a shit. She's just going to leave until Murray says, "I know where Telenolot is." And that stops her in her tracks. And he says, "Yeah, let's have a drink. My Bapsk is eager to speak with you." And then he looks over at Mem. He's like, "Wait, is that my Azish Cavalry Lord suit? You got the Aether out of it?" She's like, the what? We know what an Aether is. We've seen a little bit of that.
Was that the magic crystal dude from Lost Metal?
Yeah, he was controlling an Aether, a pink one. I don't know how that would stain your suit. But...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, wait, what?
And he's so impressed by what she's done that he tells her, "Go tell Condwish that I give you a 3 fire mark bonus. Also, you're going to need a new washer girl after today."
This one is not going to stay.
Yeah. So, very brief, but I feel like an interesting little interlude there.
I'd actually say between this and the other, like rando Bright Lord who gets thrown to the Great Shell, it's a rare occurrence where like the random person interludes are more interesting than the recurring character interludes. But this week, I think that was the case.
You know what? I could agree with that. Yeah. We're going to take another step back for a minute. You guys may remember I think it's the beginning of the last book was Yasna's memory of what happened that night when her father died. Yeah. And one of the things that happens in the prologue, yeah, it's Yasna's perspective. She runs into the 2 guys who
we talked about this, right? There, it's Nail and somebody else.
Yes, we later find out that it's Nail and somebody else. But I'm going to go back there because something else they say is relevant to what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the exact wording of it. I think they're talking about something else, right? They're talking about, like, shouldn't we stop so-and-so or whatever? They're talking about, like, Seth and the Honor Blade, right?
Well, they do mention that, but the first thing she hears as they're walking around the corner, he says, "I'm worried about Ash." And Nail says, "You're worried about everything." And the other guy says, "She's getting worse. We weren't supposed to get worse. Am I getting worse? I think I feel worse." Shut up. I don't like this. What we've done is wrong. That creature carries my lord's own blade. We shouldn't have let him keep it. He cuts off there.
Yeah. So wait, is he also a herald if he's like, we're getting worse? But then he's talking about lords. I don't know.
Unless the blade Seth was carrying was like the leader of the heralds.
That's true. I don't know. It could be.
But also one of the prologues, the very first one, is where we find out that one of the 10 herald statues is missing in that same hallway area. And I mentioned it again in this book. Remember, it was like there's only 9 of the statues. That's because this person was there at that party also. They saw her. She was there to destroy that statue.
So they call her Ash. What are their herald names? Is it short for one of the heralds?
I don't even know if we know all the herald names. That's a good question.
That's I
Isn't
don't,
one
you
of-
know.
Isn't one of the heralds like Shash or something?
One of their, actually, yes, we've discussed this. We know the heralds' names because, for one thing, they're like in the Ars Arcanum, I think.
Right.
But one of the like numbers is Shosh. That's number 6, and it is named after a herald, except that it's always shorter. Like Tanat is one of the numbers because it's named after Talenalot. Shosh is named after Shalosh.
Shalosh, Ash. I mean, it could be the same person.
So,
Yes.
just random little things that connect together, even though it's not always clear.
So interesting, though. It's like if she was just going around destroying images of heralds, of all the heralds, she wouldn't have stopped with just the one statue, I would guess. So,
Or just the one painting out of the 5 paintings that she just destroyed.
yeah. So I guess there's a specific thing she's trying to do, but I don't get what.
Yeah. Is like she destroying images of herself or of one of the others specifically?
Yeah, it's weird.
Also, she was there the night Gavilar was. Who fucking wasn't? at this
Apparently
point?
everybody was there, yeah.
except Kaladin.
Yeah, except Kaladin. It was a party, man. Party
Well,
down.
I told you guys we'd run into, you'd met some of the other heralds, and so yes, I will confirm for you that this was one of them. We met her in that one interlude where she was destroying art.
Man, this is. At this point, we're going to flash back to the night Gavilar died, and there's going to be this elderly couple collecting the silverware, and we just say, "Hey, look, it's Moash's grandparents."
That would be funny, yeah.
And then it turns out they, fucking elbow Jezereza in the face or some shit, and that's part of why that led to their downfall. Or I don't fucking know.
Everything was happening that night, you know?
Yep.
So we cut back to Venli for her second interlude, and she's being flown over a huge amount of territory, and she's like, man, Esh and I would love this shit. Seeing the world. Venli, on the other hand, is feeling sick to her stomach. She's not appreciating this. But they arrive at Kholinar, which she's only seen once before, that night when they arranged to murder Gavilar. And now it says there's smoke rising from various parts of the city. The gates are broken. So this probably not too long after they took the city. There's still fire coming and stuff. And she's like, oh, you brought me to Kholinar? Does that mean that I'm done? And Ryan is like, done? No. You haven't even begun. Those little villages were practice. Now your true labor begins. And that is the end of the shortest chapter in the entire book.
I feel like that one could have been connected to the the third interlude. I'm not sure they needed to be separate, really.
Yeah, honestly, I think all 3 of them could have been connected in one. But,
but we're not
Brandon's book.
We are not multi-million book selling authors.
It's true. There's probably a reason for that. Yeah. We just don't understand the pacing of interludes. Clearly.
You just don't understand football, Marge.
Exactly. Then we go to the Sheler or Sheler. I feel like it would be Sheler if there were 2 L's. I don't know how you pronounce it with just 1 L, honestly, but I'm going to keep saying it that way. Did you do the audiobook on this section, Jamie? Do you know how they say that name?
Yeah, I did. And now that you've said Sheller or Sheila, or I don't remember.
Okay.
I thought it was Sheller, but I don't remember specifically.
Fair enough.
It wasn't a pronunciation that I was like, oh, this is a weird sounding name. But I also didn't think about how it was spelt.
Yeah. That's the thing about the audiobook. You can always tell on Reddit when somebody has only listened to the audiobooks because all the character names are spelled weird. I mean, some of them are easy enough, like Kaladin, you could probably get that, but some of them you have to look and translate, like, what is he saying?
Yeah, you do actually miss a fair bit with the audiobook. It's good that they give you like the PDF of the visuals, which I actually didn't realize
Oh, that's nice.
the beginning. So hooray, figured that out. But yeah, you do actually miss a bit. I do prefer read like with your eyes reading it.
Yeah. Me too.
Like, is there anyone on Reddit who spells this guy's name as Sheila?
Oh, that's a good point. I don't know. This guy does not come up much, I don't think. So
although, Sheila, that girl who got taken by the crab monster, that wasn't a girl. Then why was it called Sheila?
Funnily enough, we have seen this guy before. Or heard his name at least.
Fucking where?
Well, it wasn't the night Gavilar died. I could say that much at
Ugh.
least.
Gosh,
But
why? I'm tired of this. I don't know who these people are, but we've seen them before.
yeah, so Sheler was the company lord of the company that Tien was serving in Amaram's army. Because
well, good. I hope he gets eaten by giant pig crab hog or whatever it is.
Yeah.
when Kaladin's searching for his brother, he's like, "Where is he?" And they're like, "Oh, Lord Sheler's company is over there," and he just runs off that way.
Thank God, a bit of catharsis for a guy we hated and forgot about.
And so this chapter, or this interlude, is a Herdazian general. We haven't met all that many Herdazians. Lopin and his family, I guess, are the standouts.
Also, this guy is insane. He's just interrogating prisoners casually. By the way, lock me up. I'm going to break the cuffs.
Yep.
and when they throw him down, they throw the guy down to the monster, and it's like, yeah, Captain got out in under a minute. I don't think you will. Like, he does it for fun. He's fucking weird.
I feel like I kind of got, King Boomy vibes.
I could totally see that.
Fuck yes.
Yep. Even just like Avatar Legend of Korra Boomy. I could kind of see that a little bit, but
You thought I was a crazy old man, but I'm the strongest earthbender you'll ever meet. And then Toph outdid him there.
The general is giving this Sheler fellow, this company lord, 3 choices. And as you said, while he's giving the choices, his men are putting manacles on the general's own wrists. He's like, hey, just don't look at that. Pay attention to me. This is important. And Sheller's trying to, make himself puff himself up a little bit. Like, you realize the trouble you're going to get in for taking me captive, right? Like, I'm an important Light Eyes of the Fifth Dawn, cousin to the High Lord himself. And the general's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, we've all dealt with that in the workplace. Someone's getting up and he's going, "Do you know who I am?"
But this guy doesn't give a shit who you are, so it's great.
Well, when I was locksmithing, like one of our guys who was doing the after hours thing, gets a call at 2 a.m. to come out and let someone, I don't remember if it was letting them into their house or like fixing my car key, and quoted the price, and because it was after midnight, it was very expensive, and the guy lost his shit and just went, "Do you know who I am?" And the guy I worked with just went, "No."
How would I know who you are?
Well, he gave his name at the start of the call, but yeah, he's like, "Do you know who I am?" And he's like, our guy just went, "No." Wind right out of his sails. He's just like, oh, where do I go from here?
I'm kind of okay.
But that's what I mean. Like, if you told me your name, but I had never met you, like, how would I know who you are?
Yeah.
Unless you say, like, I'm Ian McKellen. It's like, oh, okay, I know who that is.
Yeah, right.
I bet that guy was not Ian McKellen.
No, especially not if he's in Australia.
Yeah.
What would Ian McKellen be doing in Australia?
Filming Lord of the Rings 10.
Yeah.
Did you not
back at night?
But also filming Lord of the Rings in Australia. Oh my God!
Well,
Can you imagine the trouble we would get in?
Yeah, New Zealand's like, what the hell?
You're gonna start a war.
That's their big thing, man. That and kicking the shit out of some rugby.
He's on his way to New Zealand, or
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
Good rugby team, eh?
Oh man. New Zealand, they dominate.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that here.
Let's not get into a rugby discussion.
I'll also point out I haven't played rugby in nearly 20 years, and I've only watched it infrequently since. So most of my knowledge might be outdated. But last I checked, New Zealand was still top of the top.
Yeah, we rugby just became popular in the US fairly recently, so I'd never played it.
So here's a fun fact for you: when rugby was an Olympic sport, like they stopped playing it at the Olympics in 1924, the last people to win gold medal for rugby at the Olympics was the USA.
Oh, well, there you go.
I just remember the Bluey episode about quote the football, where.
And here's the thing: that's a different kind of rugby. That's a shittier kind of rugby. And half our Australian listeners have just turned the episode off.
Yeah, take that.
Zach, this is dangerous territory. You don't talk about politics or religion or which code of rugby you follow.
Oh man, this is fun.
Yeah, that one ends with Australia versus New Zealand. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the Bluey episode, it's all about the rugby league between Queensland and New South Wales, which is like the purple and the blue team. And then at the end, there's like, oh, now we're watching a different kind of football, and there's a green and gold team, which is everyone in Australia, and we're on that side, except for your buddy Mackenzie, because he's a Kiwi, and they just pull up out the front going, boo!
I love it because Mackenzie's like has no idea what's going on, does not understand.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, Australian listeners, if you disagree or agree with Dak, write in.
I'm gonna get pilloried.
So okay, back to the thing. The general says you have 3 choices. You can choose the sword. Might be a clean death. A good beheading rarely hurts, but we're not going to have the headsman do it. We're going to give it to the sword to the women you abused. Each one gets a hack, one after another. How long it goes depends on them.
Fair. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
like already I'm just like, you know what? Like Herdazian society already sounds better than Alethi.
Completely fair. Second option, the hammer. We break your legs and hang you from the cliff by the ocean. You might last until the storm, but you're not going to enjoy it. Meanwhile, Sheler is trying to escape, and he's like, this stupid Herdazian captured me. How shameful. He's not even a light eyes. And the general gets out of the manacles that he's been put in, and there's some applause and some people exchanging money because of bets.
See, the thing I like about this is we've spent most of the book just going, the Lopen is just like, he's just the Wayne of the crew. He's just an oddball dude. And then we finally see a group of Herdazians. It's like, actually, no, the country is just like this.
They're just weird.
Yeah,
and in the audiobook, they have Australian accents.
Yeah. Oh, we had dinner with some friends who have read a lot of Stormlight stuff, and apparently they didn't know that in the audiobooks they have Australian accents, and we had to explain that. And they're just like, oh, okay.
Should we be offended?
I mean, no offense, but Australian accents, perhaps Australian inspired. They're really bad. But it's very difficult to do an Australian accent, so
we've heard a lot of attempts.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have Jamie, who did listen to the audiobook and is also the person who could give us an opinion on that. Right. It's not like if Joe or I listened to the audiobook, we'd just be like, I guess, I don't know.
That sounds Australian to me, I suppose. I don't know.
It's very easy, I think, from hearing other people. Obviously, we don't have to try to do an Australian accent because we have an Australian accent. But it's very easy to fall into bits of speech pattern from New Zealand, and I would also say South Africa. If you're trying to force an Australian accent, it's very easy to kind of blend those things together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a South African teacher in school, and I can hear the difference. It's pretty distinct once you hear it enough.
But I mean, I'm sure there's
pieces
that you could easily slip. Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound.
Yeah.
If
you listen to one and then another, you can tell them apart. They're very different, but there's different patterns that come out that you're like, okay.
Yeah. I had a minor non-paying gig where I was recording voices in a New Zealand accent, and the guy who asked me to do it, he's like, just use your natural accent. I'm like, well, no, that's not, because that guy was British, and I'm just like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. If I'm doing a New Zealand bit, I'm going to try and do a New Zealand accent. And I practiced it, and I'm like, I feel like I'm sounding more South African than New Zealand. So fortunately, we have a friend who is a New Zealander, so I got her opinion on it. It's like, how'd I do? And she's like, this bit needs a bit of work, but overall you're pretty good.
Nice.
But yeah, fuck, I got inside my own head. I'm just like, I think I'm fucking this up.
Hit us with it, Dak. What does it sound like?
Oh Jesus, put me on the spot.
Let's now make any New Zealand fans we have upset.
Yeah. Shall elect his lips. How had he ended up in this situation? Just reading out of the book here. Has Homeland had gone crazy? The Parshman rampaging, his men scattered by flying monsters. Yeah, so I think that sounds too South African. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not bad though. I mean, it's not. It's pretty good. Especially since I put you on the spot.
Yeah, it's like I know the pronunciations I'm going for, but I think I'm overcompensating for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Only thing I could do is try to imitate
Taika?
Taika
Yeah.
from Thor, you know.
Yeah.
Which you know is
Hey,
probably
man.
just way over the top, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
100%. I was handing out pamphlets to my mum and her boyfriend, who I hate.
That
I
was
think
good
the
Borg,
fashion-
actually.
The fish and chips
Fish and
and
chips,
the
yeah.
chillabin.
Chillabin.
Chillabin, the esky, the cold box.
Cooler,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
I believe the Americans call it.
Cooler in America? Yeah, okay. A cooler is a chili bin.
Interesting. Okay.
In New
Well, yeah, we
Zealand,
would call,
we call it the esky.
Yeah, we call it esky.
What is it?
Oh, like an Eskimo. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, Jesus, I never put that together.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. What's another word we use for cooler, Data? I feel like we use another word for it.
I've heard icebox before. Is that a thing?
That's like a refrigerator kind of freezer.
Yeah, it's a
thing,
reference
yeah.
to like the precursor of a refrigerator, which was literally like you would have a giant block of ice delivered to keep things cool inside the box.
Okay.
But that's like from the early days of refrigerators.
Although ice chest, I think is probably something I've heard.
Yeah,
cooler
maybe
called,
ice
yeah.
chest is probably what I'm thinking of. If people in different regions of the U.S. listen to the show and you call, like a Yeti cooler, for example, if you call that something besides a cooler, tell us. I'd like to know.
Okay,
It's
I then had to Google it. It's like cooler, cool box, chiller, esky, chili bin, car fridge, ice chest, ice box, cool box. Okay, so
I like chili bin. That's fine.
I like chili bin. Yeah, right.
Could have
That's a good one.
cold things.
Yeah.
Could have delicious chili peppers. We don't know.
We can thank our Kiwi neighbors for that one.
Okay, I'll go with it. And anyway, sorry. Back to the book again.
Yes, enough talk about language of Kiwis.
He's allowed to pick from the sword, the hammer, or the hog. And Sheller's like, I demand the right of ransom. You must contact my high prince and accept payment based on my rank. It's like, no. Ransom is for men caught in battle, not bastards caught robbing and murdering civilians.
And I love this. He's like he's trying to think things through, and he's like, wait, did you say hog?
Yeah, it's like the entire page before, because he's like, look, I'm trying to mount a resistance to retake my homeland. A resistance is not what we caught you mounting.
Fucking
Choose one of the three.
Best line of the book, right there. Laughed out loud.
And then he goes, wait, did you say hog? And yeah, it lives down by the shore.
Yeah.
We grease you up, you wrestle the hog. It's fun for the men to watch.
He grease you up. Oh man, Herdazians.
Lunch lady Doris, have you got any grease? Yes, we do. Then grease me up, woman! Okie doke. Okie dokie.
Oh, Willie. I'm just like, I'm trying to imagine them greasing up the Herdazians, like greasing each other up to fight this thing.
And he's like, so wait,
I
if
hang
I
out
do,
with these guys for a weekend is all I'm saying.
Man, that sounds crazy.
I was reading some of the Stormlight World Guide today and got to the part about the Herdazians, and apparently they are known for they export a lot of like crops. Their area is good for growing lots of crops, more than they can use. But also hog ranching is common, so they do have pigs, and they sell the meat, they sell the leather for clothing and armor and saddles and things.
Yeah.
So that gives you like when they say hog here, he has definite reason to think, oh, it's like a big pig. Okay.
Unless they don't know that that's actually from these giant beasts at the shore that they get all this stuff from. That would be even better.
I mean, even then, it's like it would depend on the hog, frankly. Like, have you guys ever seen Razorback?
Yeah, there's some
they're
really
definitely
mean wild
dangerous.
pigs. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
In Texas, we have a lot of feral hogs, and they're very dangerous.
Yeah, like Javelina.
Yeah, we've got like wild pigs down here, and they are savage. Like farmers go out with their dogs, and they teach them, it's like, you stay away from the kangaroos, you stay away from the pigs, unless your dog is bred for pig hunting.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not even really javelinas here a lot. It's literally pigs that became feral because they got out and then like started colonies of feral pigs.
Yeah,
They're
assholes.
they're pretty dangerous. A friend of mine's husband was hunting one, and it charged him and gored him, severing his tendon from his
Ugh.
leg, hit like the top of his leg, and then and like goring him in the stomach as well. He almost died. It was pretty bad.
No thanks.
Don't mess with the wild pigs unless
Yeah,
you know what
that's
you're doing.
Even despite that, when you're given the choice of the sword, the hammer, or this, I think you still got to go for the hog, even if it was a
Yes.
very dangerous wild hog, because they basically told you will absolutely not survive either of the first two. He's just like, so if I choose the hog, you're not going to kill me, and it's like, no, but hey, let me warn you, it's not as easy as you think. I've tried it myself, so I know.
I'm telling you right now, that hog's dangerous.
I do it every Sunday before lunch.
He's gotten the best of me every time.
I do appreciate that he's gone about, look, I have experienced it. I know what you're in for. Don't tell me it can't be done. You got this, man.
It's like
You can do it.
out of 100 matches between me and the hog, I've only won once.
This guy's just thinking about like, man, after I get back home, I'm gonna go to High Lord Hammeram and we're gonna fuck this guy up. He's gonna regret what he's doing to me.
Yeah. You're about to get killed by a monster hog, ocean creature, or whatever it is. So don't worry about it.
They take him down. They shackle him to a stone. There's like a metal loop set in one of the stones, and they shackle him chained to the stone. And then somebody comes over with oil and pours it all over him. And the soldier's like, I say good luck, boss, but I've got 3 marks on you not lasting a full minute. Still, who knows, when the general was chained down here, he got out in less. Of course, the general likes this kind of thing. He's a little weird. And the guy runs away, and Sheler looks over, and an enormous claw breaks the surface of the ocean. And the chapter ends with him thinking, maybe the hog was more of a nickname. And that's it.
Yeah. As far as like random interludes go, this one is probably my favorite. Maybe it's just because like it's hilarious in the midst of some really depressing shit, but fuck, it was good.
Yeah, if there was one guy who's gonna come back from an interlude, I would like to see this general again.
Yep.
It was entertaining, for sure.
Dalinar, there's someone approaching the far end of the battlefield. It's saving our troops. Who is it? The Spanreed's just saying it's some Hadassian with a hog? What? And then you see this guy just riding whatever that monster is, just going, what?
It's not the first fictional character that I've seen who makes a habit of like, getting out of handcuffs and things just as like their hobby. But I always enjoy that.
Yeah.
It's fun. We get our last interlude for the section. Venli's little spren, who she'd named Timber, is looking around in her new room. It's several days since she arrived at Kholinar, and every day she has to give her talk several times. But they don't let her be in Kholinar. They have her sequestered outside the city in what they call the Hermitage. So she seems like this, hermit who has this story about how she's the last of her kind and stuff. It adds to the mystique. But she tells Timber that they're watching for spren like you. Descriptions of your kind and others have been spread all through the city. And Timber is trying to convince her of something, and she's like, "No, I can't." And she thinks about how Eshonai had been a general, a hero. She'd done what she was supposed to do. All Venli had ever wanted was power. And then the Everstorm comes, and when the Everstorm comes, she's taken somewhere in her. Not in reality, because she shows up right back here, at least not normally, but she goes somewhere. And there is a yellow-white star that flies at her and engulfs her in flame. She felt her skin melting, her flesh burning away, so that's nice. That's good fun. And it's Odium who says, you're not telling the story well enough. This will change or you will be destroyed. And she's like, yes, Lord, whatever you say. You are mine, remember this. And then she vaporized and wakes up back on the floor of her room. And she tells the spren, I can't do it. You've got the wrong sister. Venli had schemed to return their gods, and this was her reward.
The wrong kid died.
Oh. And we move into part 4, Defy, Sing Beginnings, with a big long list of people.
That is an insane list of perspective characters, and I just know that most of them are only going to get like 1.
Who do you think is only going to get 1?
Well, the fact that like Venli's on the list, I'm like, but Venli's the interlude person. Why is she getting in the part? As that's baffling to me. I don't understand that. Navani only got like the one before.
It's true.
And Taravangian only got one before. Did he get one or two? But minimal.
Not much, yeah.
Yeah. I'm holding out hope that we get a lot of Seth because we haven't seen him all book. So.
So I think we'll go probably the opposite way. I reckon you'll get one Seth, but you might get more of the other. They start integrating with people we're already talking to. You might get more of their perspectives.
Yeah, okay.
That would make sense, I guess. I will. The tiniest of spoilers. There will be more than one Seth chapter.
Thank God.
I can say that just offhand from my memory. I don't remember for sure how much some of them get, but I know there's at least a couple of his. But our very first chapter of the part is a flashback. And this flashback is after the last one. It's 8 years ago. And so we see how Dalinar is doing. When exactly? Hold on. I'm going to go back. When was the flashback with Evie's death? That was... Where are you? 11 years ago. So this is 3 years past her death. Dalinar's back in Kholinar, and Gavilar's doing king stuff, looking very regal, and he's still hearing the sounds. He sees fire reflected in people's eyes and hears the weeping of children in the back of his mind. He'd assumed it would get better. It was only getting worse. And we found out Sadeas had spun the whole thing, because that's the kind of thing Sadeas does. He's like, yeah, it was too bad that the Rifters killed Dalinar's wife and made us attack, and it's super unfortunate that in the fighting the city caught fire, but what can you do? And I love the just subtle enough to have this implication that Gavilar doesn't want to have to unleash the Blackthorn on anybody, because even Gavilar can't predict what kind of crazy shit might happen when Dalinar comes to your city. So maybe stay in line so he doesn't have to. And his role of intimidation continues, because he has to come to Gavilar's meetings just to stand in the shadows and like loom scarily to intimidate people. But he gets the signal that he can leave this particular meeting, and he's like, okay, good. And he goes off to find some booze. When he gets to his room, he can smell that Renarin is burning incense in the room. He's like, I don't want to face that kid. No, I'll get booze somewhere else. The kitchens, no. Oh, what about like the throne room? The king keeps some good wine in there for visitors. Yeah, I'll go in there. But there's nothing. And he's like, oh, did Gavilar figure out I was coming here and move the wine? We find out later that, no, he just drank all that and has apparently forgotten it.
This is all really sad.
Yeah.
Like, it's sad what he's going through anyway. And then to layer on top of that, his actions caused that. And then to layer on top of that, it's now being used as an intimidation tactic for everyone else. Like, he's never going to just be able to move on or get through it because they're still using it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, yeah. No wonder he seeks other ways to forget.
Yeah, it says, drinking quieted the sounds of people crying in the back of his mind, and Evie's voice accompanying them. Yeah, I can understand how you might drink in that situation. At the same time, he's like, storms take Evie for doing this to him. If she'd acted like an adult instead of a child, if she'd been able to face duty or just reality for once, she wouldn't have gotten herself killed. And then Adolin shows up, and even now, he's 15 years old. He's already he's like, yeah, I had my uniform embroidered and stuff. I had it specially tailored, and he's like, oh my gosh, my son is becoming a fop. But he's like, hey, I've got a bout set up. I'm gonna duel this guy. It's a step towards winning my own blade, and it would mean a lot to me if you could come. And Dalinar just like can't handle this right now. He needs some booze, he needs some wine, and he especially can't stand facing Adolin, seeing like that blonde hair and the smile that he inherited from his mom. And he's just like, oh, I can't take it. And he slips into kind of a more official. He's like, you're in uniform, soldier. Your tone is too familiar. Is that how I taught you to act? And Aelin's like, sir, I'd be proud if you'd watch my bout. I'll be there, soldier, and we'll watch with pride. And then he takes off. And Dalinar's like, I really need that drink now. And so he goes to like his last resort, basically, after he can't get booze anywhere else. He goes to the beggar's porch and sits down with a guy named Ahu, who sits between a couple statues and somehow always seems to have a bottle.
If this guy turns out to be another herald in disguise, I'll shit a brick.
Well, it's funny because we actually saw this guy before.
Fucking where?
In Seth's in the prologue to The Way of Kings, from Seth's perspective, he walks through here, notices that statue missing, but also sees a guy, an old drunk guy who's like, "Have you seen me? Have you seen me?" And Seth's like, "Yeah, whatever." And that's what Ahu says here. He's like, "Have you seen me?"
Right.
And Dalmar's like, "Yeah, unfortunately."
Okay. Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's not that crazy that we saw the guy in the exact same room or whatever he was in before. So
I mean, impressive that the same guy has managed to be a drunken squatter at the palace for 3 solid years, but
that's a fair point. Yeah.
yes, he hasn't been shooed off in that time.
He's like, "What are you drinking this time? Better not be water, Ahu." And Ahu's like, "I don't know. Tastes good though." And he calls Dalinar child, he says, "I don't know what it is, little child. Tastes good." So not just child. Dalinar is a little child. I like this guy. He's fun.
Maybe that's a heraldic thing to say.
"How are the voices?" Dalinar asks him, and he goes, "Soft today. They chant about ripping me apart, eating my flesh, drinking my blood." And Dalinar's like, "Great. Sounds terrific."
Yeah, all normal stuff for sure.
I was like, hang on, does this guy have a spike in him? Is Ruin somewhere out there just going, kill?
Dalinar's like, "You're a weird little guy, Ahu." And Ahu just cackles in response and gets his wine back and takes another drink. Then he says to Dalinar, "I like you. I like the pain in your eyes. Friendly pain. Companionable pain. Which one got to you, little child? The black fisher? The spawning mother? The faceless? Moloch is close. I can hear his wheezing, his scratching, his scraping at time like a rat breaking through walls."
I mean, I guess technically it was Moloch.
Yeah, I mean, he mentions Moloch in the same sentence as these other things, which makes me think, are the black fisher and the spawning mother and the faceless also names for, like, unmade? Because those are some freaky names.
Yeah.
And Dalinar's like, "No clue what you're talking about, my man." And Ahu's like, "Madness. I used to think it wasn't my fault. But, we can't escape what we did. It is our fault. You open yourself to it and you pay the price. They ripped my brain out and made it dance. I watched." And Dalinar's like, "Dude, drink this. You need it." And so he just gets smashed with this guy and has a good old time. And as he comes back to his room, he hears Gavilar and Adolin and Elokar talking about him. Adolin's like, "I'm worried about him, uncle." And Gavilar's like, "Your father never adjusted to being alone. He misses your mother." And Dalinar's like, "Idiots. I don't miss her. I want to get rid of her. He's down with the beggars again." Elokar says, "Tried the serving room first. Seems he forgot he drank it all last time. If there's a bottle hidden anywhere in the palace, that drunken fool will find it." Which, you're not wrong, apparently, but you gotta say that shit in front of Adolin? That's rude. And Gavilar's just like, "Dalinar's a soldier. He'll fight through this." And Dalinar can't stand to listen anymore. He goes and finds the nearest couch and passes out. And that's the end of that one. And then we get a cool map. A portion of the Sea of Lost Lights. And you know me, I love a good map. This is clearly Naz's handwriting again. It says, "My personal map of the requested area, including notes from previous errands." It's got a couple of fun notes. It shows where Kholinar is. There is a place labeled Caretaker of Laughter, which looks like a castle on the map, and it says "Avoid at all costs" is his note there. And then there is what looks like, I can't even tell, it's like a big tower or something, that is called Emberdark. And I haven't read very far into Isles of the Emberdark, but I do wonder if there is a relation here.
That did get my attention.
Yeah.
So, really want to get into that now. I just need time to sit down and record. I have to keep waiting until I can find the time. But I like this map. It's fun. Everything is named weird. The luminous shallows, the glasswater deep. But it's also an interesting perspective because this is Shadesmar, in case you hadn't figured that out. I assume you guys had. Where water is land and land is beads. And you might not even think about it until you look at the map, but it's like all of these little peninsulas of land because there's rivers on the land. And so here's where they all, when you reverse that, you end up with all these little paths of land through the middle of the sea, which makes for an interesting picture, I think. Anyway.
Yeah, that's super cool. Very clever.
Our last chapter for today is called Damnation. And we're getting quotes from Hesi's Mythica, which is what Shalon was reading in the city that told about the various unmade. So maybe we're going to get some information on the unmade in these epigraphs. Wouldn't that be fun? And Adolin is like, I never wondered what damnation would look like, but I'm really thinking this might be it. Like, this is a fucked up place. I'm dead. We're dead, and this is damnation, he says to no one in particular. And what's that freaky thing with the symbol head and the robe and that weird blue-white girl? And the thing with the scratched out eyes. What is going on?
I'm so scared.
And Kaladin starts floating in the air. He's got some stormlight. And this girl, who, yes, that is Syl, is like, Kaladin, they feed on stormlight. You'll draw their attention. Everything's attention. And Kaladin wants to go back. And they're like, we can't, dude.
Can't go back.
Meanwhile, there is stuff out there in the beads and some freaky stuff going on. And Kaladin has to let go of the light as Syl is begging him, like, please, you got to stop. You're attracting bad things. Azure has her shard blade out. And Aelin's just like, so Azure, any idea what's going on? And she's like, yeah, this is Shadesmar, the realm of thought. I passed through it when I first came to your land about a year ago. I tried to avoid looking at too much crazy stuff. And Aelin's just like, smart, yep. And so Pattern lets us know that the spren of the Oathgate has been corrupted by the Unmade. That's what, like, Sha'anat told us as much, that she messed up the spren of the Oathgate. So he also tells Adolin, oh yeah, that's your sword, that spren with the scratched out eyes.
No,
She's quite dead.
He doesn't tell her. Adolin tries to summon the sword, and she starts screaming, and Patton's like, oh yeah, I wouldn't do that, mate.
Yeah, I don't think you can summon her here. Yeah, no, that was messed up.
Yeah, that's a bad idea, Adolin.
So Adolin can't summon his sword
voice.
because he's got the spren here. But Azure, on the other hand, her blade's fine. Who knew?
Also, there's no creepy spren hanging around her at all.
Yeah.
So,
Nope.
kind of indicative.
Not a
of
sharp
them-
blade.
Yeah.
Maybe it could still be an honor blade. We don't know what the honor blade would look like over here.
Mm.
And so they're stuck out in the middle of the bead ocean on this tiny platform. And there's the note that those eel-like spren are climbing up on the platform, and they have these big purple antenna, which, wait, the little blobs at the end of their antenna look like what fear spren look like on the other side. So we start discovering that what we see on the other side is just like a piece of what the spren look like here. Except for Syl, who I guess looks exactly the same, except she's small in the real world. Anyway. And actually, we've seen another spren made of vines, kind of like what Adolin is seeing with his spren before.
I mean, Windle?
Yeah. So these are the same kind of spren is Adolin's sword and Windle.
Interesting.
Yeah. And okay, where's the nearest body of water? There's a river near here. It's right over there, but we can't swim through the beads. So what the hell are we gonna do? Meanwhile, his shard blade spren just keeps staring at him with the scratched out eyes, and he's like, okay, freaking out. Shallan is trying to figure out what she can do, and she starts going through the beads that she can feel for the soul of something that's big enough to stand on, essentially. She finds a shield. She's like, okay, that might work. And then she finds the entire palace, which is way too big. And I love that she calls to Azure. She's like, you, sword lady, help me over here. Adolin, you two, Kaladin, see if you can brood the place into submission. And Kaladin just turns like, what? The flames are the souls of people. The spheres are the souls of objects. Help me find one that represents something. Adolin cannot tell what, like, Azure can feel what each sphere represents. Adolin cannot. At one point, she even touches the soul of Drahi. So we know he's still alive, at least. He's panicking that nobody's in charge. She can, like, feel his emotions. Like, I'm going to have to take command. I'm not a commander. You can't be a rebel if you're in command. But eventually she finds like a building, not like the entire palace-sized building, but like the building from the platform that they were on. And she somehow like makes the beads form into the shape of the things that she finds. And so they use a door, they use the building, and she makes one of them coalesce out of beads, essentially. They stand on it, she makes the next one, they stand on that, and then it takes a very long time. But they do manage to make it to the river/land on this side. Just doing that repeatedly. And when we go back to Adolin, he's just like, I'm useless here. My whole life, I thought I knew how things worked. I was the duelist. I can fight people. That no help here whatsoever. And Kaladin is almost like catatonic, practically. He can still talk and stuff, but Adolin decides, I'm going to help this guy.
going through some stuff.
Yeah, right. Adolin takes his pack from him, and then he has to kind of nudge him to move onto the new platform every time one gets made. And Adolin's like, hey, it's going to be all right. And Callan's like, I've survived Bridge 4. I can survive this. And I love Adolin's bit. I'm pretty sure you could survive anything. Storms, Bridge Boy. The Almighty used the same stuff he put into Shard Blades when he made you.
Good one, Adolin.
This is a nice guy, Adolin. And Adolin tries to distract him like, hey, you think that weird spren is really my sword? Yes, Adolin. I thought that was clear. I'm just wondering, you know. And meanwhile, Azure, when he looks at her, like, her hair is changing color. How weird. It was jet black, and now it's gray.
Confirmation of royal locks. Possibly.
Maybe. And when they make it to land, Shallan is exhausted from what she's been doing, because she's the one manifesting these beads. He's like, Azure, is it safe here? She's like, I mean, as safe as anywhere. This place is dangerous if you attract the wrong spren, but nothing we can do about that. I guess Kelsier in the cognitive realm had that advantage at least. He didn't have to worry about attracting spren monsters.
True.
And we end the chapter with Adolin coming to the realization that I think Dak had last time. Gav has been taken. Elokar is dead. Dalinar is planning to abdicate. Who's next in line for the throne? Oh yeah, that's me. Adolin himself. King. And that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah, what? Elokar could do worse.
I feel like Elokar has done worse, quite honestly.
Yeah.
All right, we're moving to predicaments. For next time, we are reading 6 more chapters. So that's 90 through 95. And those chapters are called Reborn. 91, Why He Froze. 92, Water Warm as Blood. 93, Kata. 94, A Small Bottle. And 95, Inescapable Void. So that's what's for next time. Use chapter titles if any of them strike you as predictable. Otherwise, what do you guys think is going to happen? Where are we going? We've got people in Shadesmar. We've got Seth and Taravangian and Navani chapters coming up at some point during this part. What are we going to see?
I feel like Why He Froze, that's got to be about Kaladin and how he's doing at the moment. Beyond that, chapter titles got nothing. So many perspective characters, don't know where we're going. My prediction for this week is mostly unrelated to everything else, specifically Dalinar's flashbacks that I'm going to predict something about. And this is something that I think has kind of been staring us in the face a bit for a while, and that's Dalinar going to the Night Watcher. I mentioned earlier, it's like timeline-wise, the fact that he's a drunkard now in the flashbacks, and Gavilar's assassination has got to be coming up in the flashbacks. Whether we see that event or not, I don't know, or whether Brandon saves that for the prologue of a future book. But I think we've been on the wrong track about what Dalinar asks the Night Watcher for. We've been thinking for a while that he asks for the memories of his wife to be taken away, and maybe that's what he convinced himself of. I actually am starting to wonder, maybe that's not the case. Maybe that wasn't the boon he asked for. Maybe that was the curse, that he had such vital parts of his past and history and what made him stripped away from him. I think the boon he actually went to the Night Watcher to ask for was he needed to know what are the most important words a man can say, because we haven't followed up on that thread.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like Seth left, at Gavilar's request, left that message for Dalinar. So maybe Dalinar goes to the Night Watcher to find that out, but as a result of the curse, like, he's unable to do anything with those words. Maybe he's not even sure. He gets the answer, but like they don't come to. Maybe they're not going to come to him until later, when he remembers. Like, I get the feeling he's going to be remembering. He's going to be remembering things in sequence. He's got Evie's memories back. Maybe the conversation with the Night Watcher will come back. Maybe as part of learning what the most important words man can say are, Dalinar's not going to get that information until he really needs it. And that's when his memories will come back and he'll remember what the Night Watcher told him. And as part of as part of, you're not going to get that until you really need it. Well, you're not going to get these other memories back until you really need them too, because they make you who you are. So I don't know. I'm kind of drifting a bit on the tangent of that one. But the point is, I think Dalinar doesn't go to ask for his pain to be removed. Maybe that's just what he thinks. But he actually went to the Truth Watcher to ask about that.
Interesting, because he's been telling us from the beginning, I know what my boon and curse were, but what if he was wrong? It could be lots of things. That's an interesting idea. Yeah.
Like in his, and we see it with like not just Dalinar, but so many characters in this book. You think about Moash, and like he's trying to convince himself of something, even if that something is not necessarily true. And Dalinar's been doing it, like he's trying to, even though he knows he's at fault mentally, like to try and get rid of the pain, he's trying to blame Evie in his head, even though he knows that's not right. So maybe this is just that writ large. He's just convinced himself that was what he went to the Night Watcher for, when it actually wasn't.
It'll be really interesting if and when we get to his visit to the Night Watcher, because that's
I assume that we are going to see that, because most of like the other like the Kaladin and Shallan flashbacks, like they ended with the death of someone really important to them, and it was a sort of a driving mystery of what happened to those characters through their arcs, and that was like the last flashback we got. We expected kind of the same thing to happen with Dalinar. It's like, well, that'll be his wife, but we've gotten that 2 parts early before the end of the book. So I think like the Night Watcher visit has got to be like the final flashback, or like the really important person defining one.
That would make sense. We've seen a lot of Dalinar's more recent defining moments, but that of ones that we know, that probably is like one of the biggest that's left. Yeah.
Okay, so chapter titles, I don't really have much specifically. I agree why he froze. It's got to be a Kaladin chapter. Maybe a bit of downtime, not downtime, downtime in Shadesmar, and maybe a chance for us to get a little bit more information about what's happening here, and maybe a little bit more about Azure as well. That's probably what I'd like to see. I was going to predict that Pom, in destroying the artwork, had also destroyed a statue, but we've spoken about that already, and I was like, damn. That was my prediction. Where do I think we're going for part 4? I think where we've got the bulk of our people for perspectives, we're going to have maybe like sort of 50-50 time across Shadesmar and Urithiru. I think maybe the Shadesmar piece will kind of take a little bit of a backseat, so we can see more of what's happening with Dalinar. Having Dalinar, Navani, and Taravangian, 3 people in one place. They're in one room a lot of the time. Taravangian appears to be stepping up a little bit, not morally, but to so-called help Dalinar. So I think that this is probably a good chance to get some, tactics for moving forward. They also have to regroup now. If as far as they're concerned, Kholinar is lost. I mean, it is lost. But where do they go now? How do they move forward? So you've got a couple of ways forward. They then strike up to go to war to reclaim Kholinar. And, something like that, you're like, okay, well, we could unleash the Blackthorn. And this is kind of coming into his personal, like Dalinar's personal turmoil at the moment. You don't really want to unleash the Blackthorn. He's not really that guy anymore. But, how they've been fighting the war on the Shattered Plains, like, would you just replicate that to take back your homeland? Who knows? So they could go that way, or they could just abandon Kholinar completely. They've got Urithiru now. That sort of becomes the new, anyone that they can get out, gets out. We're going to have, I would say we're going to have some refugees. I reckon some people, and our Taylor friends made it out and make their way to the Shattered Plains, and then they end up in Urithiru anyway. That's what I would kind of like to see. Not just them, but maybe they bring a whole bunch of people. Maybe they got people out somehow. I think Venli's going to be that small window into what's going on in Kholinar. Maybe she will, I don't know. She's not the fused, right? She was a fairly major player, but I don't think she's a major player anymore. I'm far more interested in what's happening with Timber, and I want to see how that plays out and how that affects what's going on with her. She's hearing old rhythms, and she doesn't think she should be, and she's got none of her previous allies. That's everything she just worked for. Not saying she was in the right place to do that, but everything she just worked for is like she's got no authority here. She's got no power here. They're absolutely using her as a pawn to try and get the other singers, into line. And this is your story. This is our story. You've got to pay your respects to the people who paved this way for you to be here. And I don't think she's got really any position of power as such, but she will be that window into Kolinar. Maybe there's some people who have been captured. It sounded like they weren't keen on having human slaves because they'd have to be watched all the time, but I also don't think they're going to let anyone go. We do know we've still got Scar and Drahe though, so it would be interesting to see, do they survive? Do they make it out? Are they captured? There's so many questions for them and then other people in Kolinar. We also might get a bit of an insight into Aesudan, what she's up to now, and hopefully little Gav, and make sure he's okay. You're all caught up in this. This is terrible. Yeah, we finally get a bit. Yes, now we know that she's working. What's actually happening there? So a little bit of insight there. And Seth, I feel like Seth is probably not just gonna pop up with everyone else. I think and back in. So I think he'll be probably standalone. Obviously, we know he's got history with Dalinar. He's got history with Taravangian. And we haven't really seen any of him since his alliance was struck up with Nail. So what's he been up to and what's his goals moving forward? We don't really know anything about what he's up to now.
It's true.
I mean, except for sort of what we had in the novella, but yeah, there's not really that much. What's changed for him, I think, will be really interesting to see where we're up to. But I think that's realistically, I think that's how part 4 is going to go in terms of the overall book. I don't think we're going to see a resolution to Kolinar in the book. I think that's probably going to be a much bigger. Yeah, I feel like we're kind of building up now, like our next big bad for the series. So it's probably another couple of books worth of fighting and resolving to come with this particular set of antagonists and protagonists. And yeah.
Okay. That would make sense. We have a couple more books left, so there's room for it. I like the idea that the Taylors do make it to the Shattered Plains and Urithiru. I don't want to lose them. They were so nice and like welcoming, and then everything went to hell. So I hope nothing bad happened to them.
Yeah, I don't want anything bad to have happened to anyone, but I really would like the idea that somehow they managed to rally people and find a way out before shit really went down.
Yeah.
Like, that, I guess it gives you that little bit of hope, and that not just the city fell and everyone was doomed. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, doomed is bad. We have people we like there, even beyond them. So yes, people being able to get out would be good. I agree.
Yeah, people getting out and abandoning ship before Adolin called the city lost. I think because by the time he's called the city lost, it's too late, right? They're well and truly defeated by that point. You had Azure worried about, where her men were and what was happening there. Hopefully they saw what was happening and went, no, there is no hope. We've got to get people to safety. Otherwise, we've lost our entire population.
Yeah, although they do know that usually when these fused or when the Voidbringers take over a city, they don't just kill everybody. So there's still hope for people we like, even if they don't make it out of the city, I guess. At least fingers crossed.
Yeah, I want better for them than that, though.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, you made a really good point about Venli, and like she was behind so much that happened. Apparently, we saw at least some of that. And she clearly thought she was going to be big and important in this like new world order, essentially. But yeah, she's just getting shoved around, carried around by people, and then told, do this, do that, tell this story 5 times a day. It kind of sucks for her, but I can't feel sorry for her that she didn't get what she wanted out of betraying her people, essentially.
Agreed. You made your bed.
Yeah, exactly, right? But it opens up, I think, interesting story possibilities for the future knowing that we have this person who has been sneaky and kind of underhanded in the past and now has not gotten what they wanted out of it. Where do you go from there?
Very cool to explore in the future.
So yeah, man, there's a lot going on, obviously. So I liked a lot of what Dak and Jamie said. I don't know. I might disagree a little bit about Venli. I think if my predicament is correct about maybe that little ball, that little Spren light ball being Eshonai's essence somehow, maybe we'll see like a redemption arc for her, and she won't be playing a part. You know, her part in kind of the society as it is now is very unsatisfying to her. Maybe she'll be able to find satisfaction in kind of bringing some of the people back and rallying them, if that's something that she ends up wanting to do, which maybe this influence from this little Spren thing will help her kind of change her mind about what she wants to do and who she wants to be and all that. So maybe we'll be able to see a change in her. I think that'd be nice. You know, she kind of gets a redemption arc. Maybe she doesn't deserve one, but she gets something. You know. Yeah, I don't know how long we're going to spend in Shadesmar. It took Yasna a long time to get out of Shadesmar, so my worry is that like we're going to spend this whole next part or even the rest of the book with them in Shadesmar. But at the same time, that could give them some very good insight on Spren and what's going on as far as like bonds and relationships and things like that. So we could really get some good insight in that. I guess Azure's being like taken directly into the fold here, at least for now. If I'm correct and she's possibly Vivenna or somebody else from that planet, then that could be kind of interesting. Especially since we know if they are able to get back to Urithiru, we know Vasher's there, so I wonder what all that would look like. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, I like the idea of focusing a little bit more on Dalinar's kind of issues, because I feel like which was warranted, we spent the majority of this last part focused around the Kholinar plan and what they're going to get done there, which makes complete sense. So it would kind of make sense, as much as I would maybe like to see some insight from Shadesmar, it also would make sense if we kind of gave that a break while they try to figure that out and go back to Dalinar and get more information on what's been going on there and what's going to happen there. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that could happen soon, and so I'm interested to know where we're going from here. But those are kind of my little vague predicaments right now. We're in such a weird spot in the story narratively that's like there's so many antagonists, but at the same time, like there's not really a way to focus on Odium, and there's just like a lot of enemies in waiting. So it's like, what do we focus on at this point? It's just kind of a lot.
That's fair. Yeah, I do like what you said about there seem to be some hints being dropped with this Timber, Little Spren, and Venli that she could change directions theoretically. The Venli redemption arc, as you said, that could be. I might be more open to that than like a Moash redemption arc, I guess.
Oh, for sure. No, Moash can rot in hell.
I've been rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender lately, and you got the Zuko arc, which is one of the best like villain to hero arcs ever. I feel like so.
Yeah, it was. I remember watching that in real time, and it was kind of hard for me to accept that like he could become, you know, decent. And then there's that whole like double back thing he does where he basically like starts hanging out with his sister and her friends, and he's like, you know what? No, I don't want this.
Yeah, at the end of season 2, when he like sides against Iroh with his sister, you're just like, okay, well, you've crossed the Rubicon now. There's no coming back after that. Right. And he comes back, and it works. It's pretty impressive. Spoilers for like a 20-year-old show at this point.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. If you're getting mad about spoiling a show that ended over a decade ago, give me a break.
So yeah, we're running real long today. I think let me just do a couple of like extremely short and related emails, like a couple sentences each, and then we will save the rest for another time. So Dak and Joe, you guys may remember, Jamie, you were not here for this episode, but I'd seen something about somebody saying Brandon has written 6 love triangles that involve siblings, and we had a whole fun time trying to figure out what the 6 were.
Oh yeah.
What?
And we came up with 5 of the sibling love triangles, but
Is it
we
a-
couldn't get the 6th one.
It was Kelsey and Marsh both loved Mare.
Yep.
Vin was torn between Zane and Ellen.
Yep.
I think we threw out there like the Siri, Vivenna, and Susabron. Well, that one's a stretch though.
Yeah, they said one of them, it was a stretch to call it a love triangle, and we decided that Ciri, Ven, and Susabron fit that, yeah.
Can't remember the others.
We got Wax, Marisai, and Steris.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And then we have Gavilar, Dalinar, and Navani.
Oh, Doi. I was there was
Yeah.
one on Roshar, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Of course, there it is.
So yeah, 5 full-on love triangles-ish that involve 2 siblings at some points of this triangle. And so I have since then found, or somebody in our Discord actually, I should say, found the post I found was on Facebook, and the guy never explained what the last one was. So after the episode came out, somebody in our Discord actually found the Reddit post that the Facebook post was based off of, and the Reddit post did have the answers in it. So the one that we couldn't figure out was the one where he says, like, it's a stretch to call them siblings. And it turns out that was actually supposed to be Kaladin and Adolin and Shallan, where Kaladin and Adolin are like sibling-ish, which I think that's more than a stretch. I wouldn't have.
How the
They are not siblings.
I mean,
No.
okay, I've joked before about Dalinar seeing, calling Kaladin's son and Adolin and Renan both gone, fucking what? Honestly, even that was a stretch. Like, I don't know, man. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't count that one. But I preface with that to say that we received 2 emails about it in addition to what went on in Discord.
Yeah.
The first one is from James, who's like, hey, Data, the 6th one is technically unlocked when with Kaladin, Adolin, and Shallan being a triangle. So James pointed out the same thing, and then we had another one that says the last sibling love triangle from Spencer, doing the dangerous thing of sending this before I finish the episode. But the obvious last triangle is both of Dalinar's sons have feelings for Shallan. Adolin is in love with her main/prime identity, and Kaladin and Vale obviously have some vibes going on.
Oh,
and of course, Adolin and Kaladin are in a bromance.
Okay. Okay, when you put it that way, both of Dalinar's sons have feelings for Shallan. I'm thinking, okay, I don't recall Renan ever making a move in that regard. What the fuck?
No, I feel like they must be playing into that joke that like we forget Dalinar has the 3rd child or whatever. But
I mean, that was easier in the first book, but these days it's like kind of hard to forget.
it's true.
Like
he's paying more attention to Renarin for sure.
Yeah, he might not be showing. He still might not be showing up much, but he's playing a good role in the narrative now.
That email ends with, there's always another email from Spencer. So thanks, guys, for the emails. We still have like half a dozen in the mailbox, but we're running along today. So we're going to save those for another time. If you've sent an email, it is still out there. We'll get there.
So you're about to say there's always another sibling love triangle. Ugh.
There might be. I haven't finished Isles of the Emberdark yet. Could be in there for all I know.
Oh, my shit.
But if anyone wants to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Blue Sky and Facebook and places like that. You can also check out our Patreon, where I am still posting my my reactions as I'm reading Wind and Truth for the first time. There is still 1, 2, 3, 4. There's still 5 of those left as of this recording to put up. But then we will start moving into Isles of the Emberdark, which means I need to get on it. I've still only read like 3 chapters of that. I got 1 episode recorded for the Patreon, so I need to get a move on there. But yeah, if you're interested, check out Patreon. You can hear me rambling even more than you already do. And if you join the Patreon, Joe will assign you a faring power. And if you leave us a 5-star review, you can email it to thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Send us a picture, and Joe will jump you into the misting crew with a misting power. So check out that stuff. Thanks to our patrons. Thank you to our people using our Discord. Always some fun and interesting things going on there. Thank you to you guys that just show up every week and listen while we talk about these books. It's a lot of fun for us. Hopefully it is enjoyable for you. If it's not, and you've been coming back this long, you may have problems outside of...
Yeah, like I don't really understand hate watching, especially for something this long.
Yeah, right? Like that's a lot of hate. Whatever makes you feel good, I guess. But thank you guys. remember, we're doing 6 chapters for next time, 90 through 95. So if you're reading along, those are the chapters to read. Music by Miracle of Sound, and Wuzzing to the Time of Next. Colo? P.S. Fasher. Haha, I'm still.
Corona's wide, supernovas die, fractured in the fateful fall of man. Feel the heart raging of a strength unseen. Unity will bring the upper hand. So look to the break of dawn, to the break of dawn.